Hey YouTube, what's up? Thanks for tuning in. Mini C 4WD. I guess I wanna tear down or strip down it and take a look inside. Disassemble the chassis, disassemble the axles, and check how it's built. I'm interested in this stuff, so you won't learn a lot or you won't see anything new in this video. I simply will disassemble my Mini C as far as it's possible. I'm planning to do some upgrades, shock upgrades and whatever anyway, and then, but not in this video, I will assemble it again, maybe in the next video if somebody's interested. So there's not a lot to tear down or to strip down in the body, and I probably won't. You have those fake or dummy 3mm LEDs, they will stay here. Everything else is glued. I did already lose my antenna and I glued it again with E6000. Only the spare wheel, the spare tire is also screwed. So if we wanna tear down everything, let's also try to get this sucker out. Why there are two screws, nobody knows. Tiny screws. I'm quite sure I will have big problems reassembling everything again in correct order. So it's also glued. The spare tire, unfortunately also glued, and two screws mounting it to the body. To be sure not to know where those screws belong to. Let's, come on, screw it in place. And the chassis, which those are Amazon basics. I do have a ton of AAA and EMH batteries, and it's an eraser. So let's start with the motor. Let's start with the motor. You did already see it in my motor upgrade video. So put this that way, slide it to the side, then here we get it out. The housing of the gearbox, quite nasty. Take out my upgrade motor. Unscrew it here. 1, 2, come on, then I did already break the receiver box. First, let's unmount the shocks. No, of course not. Let's start with the tires. I don't like the new way that those tires are mounted. I did already show it to you with the Phillips screwdriver and this strange new way of mounting tires. So no tires anymore. I did already disassemble the shocks once. I hope there are not too many different screw types. Those are long screws, so I will be able to assemble everything correctly again. Otherwise I have to watch my own video. Good idea sometimes to take some pictures. That's quite a lot of work. Disassembling should be possible with an electric screwdriver too. How are those axles mounted here? They seem to be mounted with a hex screw. Is it true? I have to take the loop. Yeah. There seems to be a, let's try 1.5 millimeter. No, that's too large. So let's try 1.3 millimeter. This. This is a hex screw, but it seems to be difficult to get to this place. Okay, let's first disassemble this part if it's possible. So there's a kind of nut made out of plastic, and here is this new mounting system. Oh man. How did they mount this? Second screw. Can it be disassembled that way? Not really. So it can. So that's the new mounting system for the tires. Ball bearings, nice. Mounting system not that nice because that's a very new system and there are no rims that will fit. So both fall out quite easily, and the ball bearings, they sit that way. Those are quite large bearings. Check. So those are 10 by 6 by 3. So outer diameter 10 millimeter, inner diameter 6 millimeter, width 3 millimeter, and quite with a little bit of lubrication. So this seems to be quite okay. And now how can we disassemble this axle? Man. So that's a ball link here. That's a ball link. I will probably only have to push it and break it. Hopefully not. Yes, it is, but it's a big screw. A big hex screw with probably 2 millimeter. So let's unscrew this ball and screw from the axle. Okay, here you can see it. Nice ball and screw, including a shim. No shim, as we are used in many small cars. I hope you can see this. So, and now how to get this axle out. This okay. Probably we have to disassemble the pumpkin. First, pumpkin has normal screws. No good. Okay, that way we can disassemble the axle, and here inside, take a look, 2 nice ball bearings, probably a 3 millimeter axle, as most of those tiny cars, or many have. Yes, 3 millimeter axle, so we have a 6 by 3 by probably 3, 2. 6 by 3 by 2.5 ball bearings. 2 ball bearings. 6 by 3, and this seems to be metal. Oh, that's quite nice. This is not plastic. It's not very well lubricated, so when assembling it again, what type of material is this? I have to make a teeth test. Yes, it is metal for sure. Okay, nice quality. Seems to be nice quality. Here we have one half of the axle housing, and those grab screws, they are fixed with a hex grab screw. But that's the other side. That's one side of the drive shaft. Very nice again. This is metal too, so it's an expensive car. This is metal too, and it's a kind of, it's lubricated, and it's also fixed with a hex grab screw. So we can get it out that way probably. No. No. That's not connected. So we would have to, that's plastic, and we have to disassemble the, we have to disassemble this to clip this. That's plastic and not metal, to be able to get the gear out. But I think I will not do this now because it's not necessary. Maybe you can see it. Here's a hex grab screw that mounts the gear, and this is as we are used to in those kind of cardan joints, but that's only clipped and that's plastic. I don't want to stress it. When it breaks I will disassemble it, but so far not. And those, that's, it is even 1.3 millimeter too large. Oh man. Let's try 0.9. ESD safe. But it's hard to get. Oh, it's really 0.9 fits, but it's hard to get there. You need a 0.9 millimeter hex screwdriver, and that's a probably 2 millimeter nut screw. Yes, 2 millimeter nut screw that mounts 0.9. So this size 0.9. You can use Vera tools and you can use Viha tools. This has a long, as so often the problem how to get the screw out of there. So 0.9, and second side and second grab screw. And rear axle disassembled. Plastic axle housing. Plastic drive shafts with a lot of metal parts. And here you have, that's a thread I guess for the That's the thread that's made out of metal for this ball end screw. So rear axle disassembled. Let's go to the front axle. Are we able to get it out? So that's only a ball joint for the steering. That's it. And now I know I can get this out easily with the 0.9 hex driver. And here we have again this big ball joint screw. Let's disassemble the unmount the shocks first. That's a very special way of mounting shocks too. Okay, shocks unmounted, and now hex. Need a 2mm hex driver to unmount this single shaft from the axle housing again. Okay, so front axle, three screws, they are securing this large ball bearing. Three very short screws, one, two, and number three. So this ball bearing should come out now. That's a very delicate system. Check this out. That's with a tiny screw. So a tiny Phillips head screw. I take a triple A screwdriver. This looks not very sturdy, to be honest. And here it is, tiny 1mm probably screw, Phillips head. Let's check it if it's really 1mm. Even a little bit larger, 1.15mm, so probably it's should be 1.2 millimeter. So got this out, okay, can disconnecting steering arm. Wow, such a tiny delicate system. And the connecting arm for the steering is of course made out of plastic, but this ball screw seems to be, that's a metal screw, and this probably uses 1.5 millimeter. I have such 1.3 millimeter now. Oh, that's a ball. Where do I have a 1.5 millimeter hex? Okay, probably yes, that's a 1.5 millimeter. You need a 1.5 millimeter hex driver, so you need quite a lot of different tools for disassembling. Phillips head screwdrivers, larger ones, tiny ones, and hex drivers. So far I needed 0.9 and 1.5 millimeter and 2 millimeter. This will be a lot of fun trying to assemble this again. So probably everything will fall apart if I unmount those screws. 1, 2, and 3. Yes. So the steering knuckle came out. The second steering knuckle, and those 3 screws are really, oh my god, only here to fix the ball bearing. So those 3 Phillips head screws to only secure the ball bearing inside this. What's that? That's the steering knuckle. So ball bearing seems to be nice. What's the size of the ball bearing? It's 10, probably 10 by 6. No, oh yes, 10 by 6 by 3. We did already have this. Okay, 10 by 6 by 3. Seems well lubricated. Second one, but no need to disassemble this now. Inside, wow, something fell out. This was this, okay, that's a hex nut that secures this ball end screw, as I've seen in the as I've shown you here, but here it didn't fall out. That's this hex nut with stop, and the ball end screw has to be screwed in here. So I hope I will be able to assemble this stuff again. Now that's the front, that's the rear. So it has to sit in here. Those are the cardan joints, and this seems to be nice because this seems to be metal. I will have to make my teeth test again. No, this is plastic for sure, and that's plastic also. Would it be possible to disassemble this? Yes, it would. There's a hex nut inside too for the screws, and that's only clipped plastic clipping mechanisms. I do not disassemble this now because I know those parts break easily. It's quite nicely lubricated. Metal, drive shaft, plastic, and front axle shaft. So how does this lay in here? Seems to be mounted only with 3 bearings. Okay, so that's the way it sits inside. Nice. I will use a little bit of white grease later. Tiny car with nice parts. Part of a drive shaft. Oh man, how can I, will I be able to assemble this again? So let's continue with the chassis. So let's strip off the bumpers. Okay. This screw does not want to come out. Here you go. So the rear bumper, those brackets are also mounted by 2 screws, so can be disassembled, and here we have 3 dummies for 3mm LEDs on each side. I would really love to use a cool capable light controller, Lame Boys RC light controller with my Mini C 4x4, and programming all those lights. It's a little bit of problem with the original stock electronic. I won't disassemble this now. And the front bumper, Front bumper, same stuff. Those brackets or mounts can be unmounted, are held by one Phillips head screw, and here is a dummy for, this seems even to be a 5mm LED. I'm not sure now. Yes, that's a larger, so the front LED in the bumper is probably meant for a 5mm LED. There are also hopefully it will work. There are also 4mm LEDs, which are really hard to get. Orlando's come with 4mm LEDs, and they are really hard to come by and very expensive. 3mm, 5mm, 1.8mm is normal. So, nice plastic front bumper, rear bumper. Now let's unmount the shocks. They are not oil filled, but you can, I did already disassemble them once, you can kind of put a little bit of grease or oil inside, what I will try to do to make the shocks less stringy. Front and rear shocks are the same. One, two, three, four. They can be disassembled. Here is a, you need a, here's a ball joint, a ball screw again, and you need, I guess, a 1.5, yes, 1.5 mil to unscrew this, and you will need pliers to hold it there, and hopefully not to scratch it. Shock pliers won't work because those are of such tiny diameter. The rods are of tiny diameter, of 2mm probably. Can use a towel, but I have nice flat pliers to hold them. Wow. And here you can see this screw that has to be screwed to the shock shaft here. And of course I lost the spring now. I will find it again. Oh, here it is. That's the spring. And you can open it here. And so that's the shock shaft, and of course I did do something wrong now. It's much easier and safer for the shock shaft to unscrew this hex screw when pressing to the other side with the Phillips head screwdriver, like this one, and that way you don't need pliers and won't scratch the shaft. So let's disassemble this again. That's the way it works. And I will try to put a little bit of grease or even shock oil inside those, but only a little bit inside of those containers. Of course the shock oil will not be held, but to make the shocks a little bit less springy. So I will have to open all 4 of the shocks for this. Well secured. Okay. Now let's unmount the electronic box again. I did already. Unmount it once. That way it will come out, but only here. Here you have a tiny screw, but that's not necessary to open the electronic box. That's only to hold this tiny plate, which is probably only a placeholder for the potential or the optional gyro. And you do see I did already have to use sticky tape here, because this electronic box is only secured by 4 of those clips and they break easy. At least okay, check this out, the next one broken. That's a pain. That's really not a good way to mount this. Now I have already 3 of those clips broken. We'll use sticky tape. And inside, now I can open it. Assembling it again was a big pain, because of those wires here. To get all this inside again is really not that easy. Or that's the upper part. Mainly placing the on-off switch, the bottom part, and that's the RC unit, ESC unit, light controller unit. That's the 5-wire servo. 2 wires, I have to test this as normal. 2 wires for the motor, plus, minus, and 3 wires for the potentiometer. And the unit with my new FETs. And still connected to some main part by those 2 wires connected to the battery box. And here's the 5-wire servo. I don't like it. I did already disassemble it once. Let's try to get it out again. Okay, this seems to be inside. We will find a potentiometer, a motor, and a plastic gear. in the center. I really would love to exchange this servo by a better, stronger servo. It's really weak and plastic gear, of course. So 4 long screws. This is the plastic center gear of the servo, and here we have the potentiometer and the motor. And how are we able to get this servo out? Seems to be... Is this only one unit? Is this servo? I do not really believe that it's not possible to remove the servo. Let's see, let's first disassemble the sliders with the mounting system for the body. So that's really a nice system. It's not symmetrical, I have to check. So here, so we have the front, so the longer part is coming to the front side, and the shorter part going to the rear side. Okay, that's the battery box, still mounted with 2 screws. Short screws. Now we should be able to take, yes, we are able to take the battery box out, and not yet we are able to take the wires out. But is this really true? This servo I really can't believe this seems to be only one unit. Servo? No, this is impossible. Oh. Let's get the wires out and then we can check it. So now we have the total electronic unit or parts or whatever out. That's probably my fault. I did solder those again to the board, and now we have a wire jam here. There is no screw. No screw. I can't believe this. Let's check the that's the servo arm. It's also rather difficult to reassemble if you do not unmount it. You will see here you have a tiny shim with a very special shape. It's still here, don't lose it. So check this out. Here it is. And I did already lose it. Where it is? Here. So this part goes on top of the servo arm. Hope you can see this. Don't lose it. And now we have still one unit. So there's the motor potentiometer, and it seems that the lower part could be disassembled, but the center part seems to be one unit with the battery box. Not very happy with this. Really difficult to use a upgrade servo. So okay, I can pull this part out here. Here you have more gears, more servo gears, and this seems to be one part with the battery unit. Oh man, that's not a very nice design. Kyosho does not want us to make any upgrades. This seems to be quite a... Come on. Okay. So the center part of the servo, I hope I'm not wrong, I will check it with loop again, but I'm quite sure there's only one wall, there's no screw, nothing. The servo is one unit with the battery box. Man, oh man, oh man. And the RC unit, of course, is soldered. No plug to the battery box too. Nearly stripped down everything. One frame, shock mounts, screwed to the frame. The frame is metal. I lost one screw. Okay. Shock tower, shock mount, however you will call it. And that's the frame. Flat frame, metal. Seems to be well made. I know some people don't like flat frames, I don't care. And the other side, so frame, shock mount, and now we have the central transmission. The links are mounted So they are only mounted with those tiny rods. You have to push out. One, two. I lost one link already. 2, 3, 4 links. I should have checked if those links are of the same size. No, they are not, of course. So all they are. No. There are 2 longer and 2 shorter links, and I hope I will be able to check later on some pictures which one goes, or which ones go to which side. Three-link system. Ball screw. That screw is mounted by a Phillips head screw. This rod end, we could disassemble this, but I won't do this now. And is it front or rear? I don't know. So, and that's the central gearbox with a kind of slipper clutch system, as you can see here, with the spring ring. What's the English name for those? You will always lose them. And there are quite a lot of screws to disassemble the central gearbox. There's a different screw here now. That's not a button head Phillips head screw, but that's a flat Phillips head screw. 1, 2 flat ones, and there's again a button head Phillips. Come on. And a further button head. So, guess that's everything. One more screw somewhere. Probably not. Can you guys see one more screw? This is loose, this is loose. Flat. So probably we have to remove the drive shafts first, and those are mounted how? I hope they are not press fit. No, they are mounted by a... Oh man, they are mounted by a Phillips head screw here inside, and therefore we will have to disassemble to take... Is it Phillips or is it a torque? So that's really... To open this, I have to disassemble those cardan joints. Chuck. So, plastic, that's the reason why I don't like to disassemble it. Not the sturdiest. And now we see here, no, it's a normal Phillips head screw, how this cardan joint is mounted to the gearbox. That's really difficult to disassemble by a short screw. And this should come out now. Por favor, yes. And now we can take a look inside of the gearbox. And this is the end part. Teeth test. No, that's plastic. So let's put this screw inside here so that I know it belongs to this place. And now let's take a look to this gearbox. Looks quite nice. But it's not lubricated, so that I will do. However, one metal gear, ball bearings everywhere, and yeah, should I remove this also? I don't think so. This pinion, this brass pinion seems to be, that's a press fit here. So I would have to remove this part to get the brass pinion out. Can there be something interesting? I don't think so, only the shaft. So slipper clutch, shaft, brass pinion. It's not necessary to take this off, but it's not necessary to disassemble a Mini C 4x4, so let's check it. Second drive shaft part, and now we have it. So that's here with two ball bearings. That's quite nice. That's the center gear with ball bearings 2. This has to be placed here. Get out. So this has to be placed here, and this one has to be placed here, and that's the gearbox of the Mini C4x4. Press pinion here, and what's the name of this pinion? I'm not technician. What I will not do now is to disassemble. No, I won't. I'm always losing those. I do have spares meanwhile, but that's not necessary. Now we know how this stuff works. So, everything disassembled. The reason for this was because I like assembling and disassembling. Check this mess. And I really hope I will be able to assemble it again. I don't know if I will broadcast the reassembling on video, because probably I will have a lot of problems and swear a lot. But maybe some of you are interested in how this Mini C4x4 looks like inside. Is there any order, or is there only chaos? I guess it's only chaos so far. So that's it, guys. I don't know if you liked this video. However, thanks for watching, and I see you in the next video. I'll be back.